is CMS Music with Chris Akin, and I, of course, am Chris Akin. And joining me today is a guy that if you've been to a concert or you own a CD that has any kind of metal on it, you have to own something that he's played on. He's played on everything, literally everything. And he's back with a new project called Howland Hyatt, and he's here to tell us about that. And I'm sure we'll talk about his past as well. He is the legendary drummer of every band you've ever seen, Mr. Stet Howland. Stet, how are you, sir?
Chris, how are you, buddy? I almost feel a little cheap there, but I know it's a compliment. How you doing, brother?
Dude, I'm good, man. And you know, it's weird, man. I have been a huge fan of yours forever, literally, because I'm especially with the Wasp stuff. I love that second tier, what I'll call second tier Wasp, which was Crimson Idol up. You know,
Sure.
and I love the old stuff too,
Me too.
but certainly a lot of people fell off on that era, and I love it. I mean, the Neon Gods 1 and 2 and Unholy Prayer and stuff. I mean, these are such good records that a lot of people missed. But somehow along the way, with all the different projects you've been in and whatnot, and I've done thousands of interviews, you and I never have connected, which is strange.
I know. It's weird. And I know, I mean, I know you, sure. But it's just the way it is sometimes. You know, it's like when I was in Wasp, you know, when I first joined, Blackie would do a bunch of the interviews himself. And then when Chris came back on board, he'd bring Chris for a minute. Mm-hmm. And then when Chris left, I kind of became his, you know, sidekick. And because he's like an encyclopedia of intelligence and knowledge. Sure. And I'm like the jester with the little bells on his hat. You know, I'm always doing dumb shit, having fun. So together it worked out real well. But I know I haven't got to speak with you, but I'm glad we're at it now, man.
Absolutely, man. And we're at it with a good cause, man. You have unlike everybody else, or maybe just like Stet Howland, I guess, where everybody else took a break for a year and a half with the lockdown. Not you. You formed a band. You found a way to make a chemistry work during lockdowns. So let's talk about this, man. Tell me a little bit about Howland Hyatt and how it came to be during such a time that everybody was struggling just to, you know, keep their feet on the ground.
Well, let me just straighten out the misconception. I had lost my mom a little bit before lockdown. Okay. And I am not an example of someone that handled everything well. I actually went, if I was a stock, you know, before lockdown, I went down a little bit because, you know, losing my mom and everything. And then in lockdown, I kind of just sailed down and was skidding. And at the front end of lockdown, and my dear friend, Johnny Hyatt, he's the engineer. He's a guitar player, singer when I'm in 10,000 Views, my band from Florida. Sure. But this guy, we just said, hey, man, let's make some music. He's like, I got some couple tunes. You know, I'm thinking of doing a solo record. I'm like, dude, let's express ourselves. So we just started recording. And these songs were all over the place. We didn't have a genre. We weren't trying to make a record. We were just trying to record. You know, it was just to keep our sanity and keep the brotherhood going. And the band was formed. Me and Johnny started recording, and the band was formed around bringing in people who had recording capabilities at their house in. Like, for instance, Michael T. Ross, the keyboard player. I've been in Lita with him. We've done we've done shows here in Vegas together. One of my best friends, and he's my neighbor right up the street. So Michael did some keys. Okay. This bass player guy, Jerome Lee, who Johnny had played with, he's a bass player from Vegas here. Brilliant. I mean, he's got credits a mile long. An amazing player and individual, and he just put down the bass. Now, usually, everything I do, I have Steve Unger's my partner in Metal Church, and we always do everything together. But at the time, Steve didn't have recording capabilities, and he was working on his own stuff. So, you know, I was happy. Jerome was delivering amazing tracks. You know, first he did a track or two, and then he did another, and then by the end of the record, he played on every song. And I'm like, well, you're the guy in this band, Howland Hyatt. You are our guy. This is your band. You're in our band. And Livio Gravini, our singer, was coming in and out of Florida. Johnny and I have a studio in Florida, and I have a studio in Vegas. So we're always doing stuff on, you know, bi-coastal. Sure. And Livio, you must know Livio. He's from New England area. Brilliant singer, brilliant artist, singer for Join Forces. Justin, you know, he's a solo guy. He came in and he just started laying down some tracks on some other songs. And all of a sudden, come the end of the pandemic, we had an album accidentally almost. It was just a creation of love, you know. In the press release, it's kind of corny, but I was like, if friendship could be music, that's what we created here. And all it was a bonding of friends, and we made a record. We made a collection of songs, you know. And so when I had it all done, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I think it's good, but you can't tell when you with your own music. You think everything's good. So I was just like, you know what? I got a few feelers out there, you know. And the first guy I talked to was Opus, Christian Lawrence from Mindsnap. Right. And he's a dear friend, and he'd been working with my other dear friend, David Ellefson, for a while. Sure. And we're always in contact, you know. And I said, Opus, what do I do with this? He's like, you know, he listened, he goes, I know exactly what to do with it, dude. Trust me. I'm like, sure I will. Why wouldn't I trust you? And the short story is he got us Mindsnap Records under Von Artists, distributed by The Orchard, which is Sony. Right. So we have A+ distribution. We got a fantastic deal. We're everywhere. And I got a brilliant young man that gets up and hustles every day, and he's working this record, you know, they're all working this record like crazy. And I'm just blown away because, you know, me, I just made some music, you know. Right. I wasn't thinking dollar signs and selling and promoting. I was just, you know, ready to go on to the next thing. I got a handful of records up on my board in my studio I'm working on. So I'm just, but this was, you know, I just don't want the misconception. Well, that's that guy. He had it together during lockdown. Bullshit. I did not, but I pulled it together during lockdown, and that's what life is about, man. It's like it's a roller coaster.
Well, and the thing is, at least from the two songs that I've heard, Eva Destruction, and then obviously the My Guitar Gently Weeps song, it doesn't come. Well, yeah, that's it. It doesn't come off like so much of the quote unquote lockdown music. So much of the lockdown music is this depressive, dull thing. And this is not that. This is very up, very good, man. I mean, it's very emotionally strong.
Thank you. It's energetic. I mean, my thing is, it sounds corny again, but this record is so real that there was no continuity taken into consideration at all. I mean, it's literally, we got the Eva Destruction, which is like a metal song. And you know, the Beatles song, I think, is one of the first ones we did just to like check tones and get a feel, and it came out good, you know. And of course, my thing is, you know, I get hired to overplay. So people are probably saying, that drummer, man, he's, you know, it's like, hey, that's what I do. Right. You know, I'm sorry. That's what I get hired to do. But it's, you know, we expressed ourselves with that, and it was good. The record is very eclectic. There's a couple of Satriani type guitar songs in there that are just, Johnny, our guitar player, is just a virtuoso. And I kind of want to use this opportunity of the Howland Hyatt thing to introduce the world to him, because I feel he's just brilliant and a wonderful person. But we have a song coming out called, I mean, I love Eva Destruction, and the Beatles thing is cool and all, but we got a humdinger. It's called Wrapped in Chains. Okay. And we have a video shot, and it's going to be coming out next, you know, or in the next couple of sets of samples. And I'm telling you, if ever a song I've ever done has legs, you know, to actually be somewhat of a crossover, Wrapped in Chains it's an everything song for everybody. It makes everybody, it's you know, there's keys in it, there's guitar, it's rocking, there's some cool drum fills, there's an incredible hook. Livio comes alive in the video. When you look at the video, you just look at Livio and you're like, I just want to hug that guy. You know what I mean? I don't know what girls think, but for me, for a dude, I'm like, I want to be friends with that dude, you know? And they say that it's a very friendly video. It really captures our brotherhood. We're all standing on the roof, and we're sitting around a card table. I'm spilling beer and shit, you know, just, you know, very immature, but fun. So that we're looking forward to that one. But the record is, we're excited about it, you know?
No question, man. Well, dude, as a guy that has been hired by so many bands to just come in and make a sound, you know, meet whatever the sound is, whether it's a Wasp sound or Last Temptation sound, or, you know, whatever it would be, you know, obviously you have that skill. Is it difficult? I know you've done this before, but is it difficult in a project that's going to be nationally seen to be kind of the face of the project and the direction leader of it?
Well, okay, those are two different things.
Okay.
I'm far more often than recognized as a direction influencer. I won't say leader, but I'm always driving the direction of I'm a know-it-all pain in the ass, man. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm full of love and I'm polite and respectful, but I think I know everything. I'm a pain in the fucking ass. But that said, oh my God, I just had a brain fart.
About talking about being the face.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. It's kind of early for me. It's only like noon, and I'm like, oh man, I took a shower and everything. Yeah, you know, it's like I've often behind the scenes leading stuff, and not that often one of the main guys, especially the first name on the album. So I'm cool with it. I mean, I'm used to explaining all my situations. You know, I did a lot of explaining in Wasp. And I do a lot of explaining my situations, you know, so I'm cool. I mean, I don't mind. I like doing interviews with people who are like yourself. So like being the spokesman of this one doesn't bother me. And Johnny, my partner in guitar player, he's off at K-Rock in Florida right now doing other stuff. Everybody's going to be doing their part. You know, now that I am like the leader, I don't want to grab all the headlines. I want, you know, the other guys to do interviews. I want Guitar World and those magazines to reach out to Johnny. I just saw that our bass player, Jerome, one of the bass magazines had mentioned this record and stuff. You know, I like sharing the pizza pie. You know, I'm not, you know, and people say, well, yeah, after being with Wasp, I don't blame you. And really Blackie wasn't like everybody thinks. I mean, the main thing is him and Chris, their thing wasn't exactly right, but all in all, he was pretty fair too. So I don't mind being the spokesman, and I've always been somewhat involved in the direction of whatever band I'm in. So
yeah, that makes sense. Well, and you know, the interesting thing is, Wasp aside, every other band, known band, famous band that you've been in has been the kind that are more collaborative efforts. You know, certainly the stuff that you did like Temple of Brutality, that was Ellefson kind of reaching out and stretching, where he was taking direction from you and everybody else in the band. And, you know, you and I talked beforehand about that you worked with one of my favorites and your favorites that nobody knows, Joetown. You know,
oh my God, yeah.
And another guy that I don't know him real well. I've interviewed him once, and he really seemed like he's a guy that would listen to what everybody has to say with the common goal of making great rock.
Well, the thing about Joetown is he's number one of the most talented artists out there. He's absolutely unbelievable. Great singer, great player, but more importantly, great writer, great producer, great engineer. Sure. So I learned as much from Joetown as I tried to tell him. I mean, that guy, he was one of the originators, him and Nate Kunkel are some of the originators of the whole Pro Tool thing. You know what I mean? It's like, I remember when people thought Pro Tools was, voodoo, you know, right. And now it's the norm, you know, it's just crazy. Yeah, Joetown is I look forward to working with him again. Now we're under the same umbrella again here. You know, we've never strayed far. He had Joetown Studios in LA at my Drum Dude Studios back in the 90s, early 2000s. I had a rehearsal complex called the Drum Dudes. You know, Everybody rehearsed there. Wasp, David Lee Roth, the Bullet Boys, Great White, Dawkins. You could probably scrape a line off the toilet holder in the bathroom. You know what I mean? It was just like a friggin' hellhole. But we had so much fun, and lots of good times. But Joetown is one of the best, one of the absolute best. And his record's coming out in a minute. His singles are just a little behind ours, like by days. So you'll probably be talking to him in a minute, finally.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I had no idea that he had a record. I'm excited. I know I'll be the one guy that'll say that, but I'm very excited. His records. I encourage people all the time to just go to Spotify and listen to Rock and Roll Man, or what's the other one, Hole in My Soul, or Finger on It, and you know, just great stuff, man.
Yeah, he and live, he is just incredible. I mean, he delivers live, and fun, and a good guy. You know, it's like that's my whole thing. And again, I referring back to Wasp. There's misconceptions there. Everybody had their own relationship in that camp. And for me, it was. I mean, we all had our ups and downs. I'm writing a book about it. You know, I am writing a book about my time in Wasp finally. But for me, I have more good stories to share and more hilarious shit. And that's what I'm going to do. The mudslinging, I mean, Holmes has some, you know, he has issues.
Sure.
I don't really, you know, I don't share the same frustrations, you know. So, you know, it's just, I'm all about working with people I like these days. I mean, assholes can hire me, but it's terribly expensive. You know what I mean? but good people, you know, we work it out. I mean, Metal Church is the finest. What a beautiful bunch of people. You know, it's like I'm really blessed. And you know, all my projects, this Howland Hyatt thing is all bros. That's the only reason we came together, because we're all friends. You know.
Sure.
And now it's a business, and we have a deal, and we have an album coming out, and there'll be shows, and you know, there'll be merch, there'll be T-shirts and stuff. You know,
perfect.
I'm sporting my images of Eden. They're out with Ingve right now.
Yeah,
good friends of mine.
Know those guys well, actually. Great good guys, man.
They're such good guys. So they did a whole tour with Metal Church and Doro, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm literally great friends with all of them. But I'm such a dumbass. I didn't realize they were a religious band. You know what I mean? I didn't even know, because they just rock so hard, and that's great. I mean, I'm a Striper fan. I'm not sacrilegious. I don't go to church every Sunday.
Sure.
But I was like, you know, how did I miss that? You know.
Well, but, it's because they don't beat you over the head with it. You know, it's the album's not called Psalm 66, and you know, and they're just a rock band. You know, it's funny. I grew up, he's not in the band anymore, but I grew up kind of with Byron Nemeth, who toured.
I know Byron well. He's a good friend.
Yeah. And
he was on that tour.
Yeah, he was. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. He was on that tour with you guys. He's not the most religious fella in the world himself. You know, I think he was kind of along for the ride because he liked the tunes. And I think, and I mean, you've been in this business since the heyday of the 80s, man, or right at the end of that, you know. I think the perception has changed. I think, you know, at one point it really was Striper against the world, but I think now people don't care. If the music's good, they don't care if it's satanic or religious or whatever. As long as the tunes are good now, I think that's all people want.
Striper was always good. I mean, I never thought, oh, those guys, Bible carriers. I was like, damn, those guys kick ass. You know, they've always been great. And I got to say, when I was sick with cancer, they were very supportive. You know, they're Oz is a neighbor here in Vegas. I don't really know him, but I'm always, you know, posting on his stuff and everything. You know, but you know, I'm a fan, and I'm, you know, I'm friends with that camp.
Right.
I don't have enemies. You know, like when I was in the hospital, I had stage 3 lymphoma, and I was done. They said, listen, you're probably not going to make it. And I was like, oh shit. I had maybe 2 or 3 people that I had fallings out with, and they were the bigger. They reached out to me and they were like, you know what? I know we had our thing, and I know you're a dick and all that, but inside I do love you, and you know, I wish you well. And I was like, great. So I'm completely clear. I'm good right now. I don't have any enemies. Everything's good. You know, but it's a good feeling. You
know what, man? And this is not real metal, but I'll tell it too. You know, I was in a burn accident. I wrote a book about it. I was working at a steel mill. Furnace blew up. I took a 69% third-degree burns, like real burns. And you find out really quickly who your true friends are, who your supporters are, who's really got your back versus who isn't. And I don't want to say it's good that either of us went through what we went through, but it is kind of clearing for, as a person, to really understand who you can truly trust versus who is a peripheral trust because you might give them something they might want.
Wow. I mean, in my business, even before success, I was always guilty of, you know, people that were loving me for the wrong reasons. Cause you know, I've always been kind of a spoiled little brat, and I'm fear, you know, I always have stuff, you know, I got, you know, like the guy that owns the RV and the guy that owns the PA. I've always been that guy, you know. So you can have people being nice to you for the wrong reasons, but I'm usually pretty good at figuring that out. But I've still been ridden and used, but haven't we all? You know what I mean?
I was going to say, yep.
But when I was in the hospital, I mean, I got to tell you, man, I feel like I wear this story out, so I'll make it quick. But there was the point where they told me that, listen, man, you know, we don't know what you have. and if we don't figure it out real fast, you're going to be gone in a week or two. And I was like, wow. And I was like, thank you. And then why don't you go figure out why I'm, go fix it.
Right.
And so I got on the phone with the Metal Church guys, and I was like, guys, man, I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this, but they just told me I'm probably not going to make it. So you guys going to have to find a new drummer. And they were like, well, I'll tell you what, here's our deal. When you die, we'll get a new drummer then. But until then, you're our drummer. So get better. And I was like,
fair enough.
I mean, they pull a Def Leppard on me, Chris. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, where do you get that kind? I mean, I don't know. It's like, I can't think of a lot of bands that would have done that. I just can't. Dude. So I'm forever. And I heard from Stevie Weavy. I call Steve Unger Stevie Weavy. Right. It's my gang name for him. Keeps him tough. He was calling all the time. Poor thing was freaking out because we're like best friends. He didn't know what the hell to do. And I'm like, you'll be fine without me, dude. No, and everybody was great. And Mike Howe, who I tried to talk, I did a Facebook Live a couple days ago, and I tried to talk about Mike Howe, and I couldn't do it. I was all falling apart. But I'm seeming to talk about him now. He was in constant touch with my wife, and about like the whole time. He was as sweet and loving as he could be, and just supportive. And it's just like that's one that we're all trying to digest. And I know one of the questions was going to be what's next for Metal Church, and we're not going to let I just talked to Kurt last night. We just had an amazing conversation, and that's where we're at. We're all talking again. That's where we're at. I mean, right. But we were so broken, man. I mean, all of us. I mean, even when I talked to Kurt a few weeks ago, he's like, he's in Barbados. It's like, because we're talking about trying to digest the loss of Mike, because he was so much more than just our singer. I mean, he was Uncle Mike here at my house, and he was my friend, and he would talk me down when I get heated, and I talk him down when he get heated, and he was just such an amazing human. So, we're all digesting that in our own way. I had just lost my mom and had a couple losses, so I was fairly fresh at facing the realities associated with death and loss. Sure. Not everybody. Everybody handles it different in our band. For some of our members, Mike's in Barbados on vacation. Right. And so we're all slowly digesting, and we just started talking again a few weeks ago, and we're barely talking about anything except making jokes, and we have our banter. We're starting to joke and communicate again together, and the building on the future will come. But right now it's just we're just like hugging right now. We're all like, I love you, man. I love you too. That's kind of where we're at, and I know everybody wants to know more. And when there's more, you'll hear about it. I'm the first one to start doing interviews, I guess, from the band again. And you'll hear the same. You won't hear any more from anyone else other than we're all talking together, and we all love each other, and we do want to continue. And the hardest thing in the world is going to be, and you got to get yourself in the right mental place in the first place just to do that. But then the hardest thing in the absolute world is going to be auditioning other people, because every single person that you audition, by no fault of your own, is going to get the comparison, just because it's so tragic and so, at least I don't know. I didn't know Mike real well. I interviewed him a few times, but enough to know the kind of person he is, though,
And as a fan, it was so sudden. It wasn't like you were hearing that he was showing up drunk at gigs, or some of the telltales that we've seen other musicians fall through. It was guy everybody liked, gone, and was like, whoa, how did that happen? That's going to be hard for you guys, man. I don't envy the position you guys have to work through to get through it.
I've had some bad days in my life, but I remember that morning when I got a call from Kurt after getting a call from Joe from Rat Pack. And, I'll just never forget it. I was in such shock. I'm like, what? What just happened? I mean, I was so shocked that I didn't even barely react. I just like, okay, I'll call you back later. And I was like, and my wife's like, what? And I looked at it, and I told her, she reacted, and then I reacted. But I mean, and it's such a tragic thing, and we're going to try and find a way. I mean, you can't hide from it, and we don't want it to be a poster for us, but we're gonna. I want to be open to addressing everything in time. I'm not prepared. I don't know how we're gonna move forward, but I mean, as far as the circumstances of all that, that's something we're gonna. We're not gonna just bury it. I don't think. I think we're gonna actually be advocates for depression or whatever it was that was the straw. But for us. We just love that guy, and I save. I'm pathetic. I have all our email threads back and forth, and I'm like saving. Where are you, man? I miss you. I'm over here, man. I love you, dude. Love you too. That's how we talk to each other.
Sure.
I mean, and I'm actually framing that shit and putting it up in my studio. Conversations with me and Mike that's telling each other we love each other. I mean, it's we're men, and it's like it's not an attraction. It's brotherly love, and it's like, man, that's what you want in a band. Sure. And when a band has that, like Metal Church does, Metal Church has such a wonderful chemistry. It's indescribable. My best way to describe it is there's a live show out there of Bloodstock of Metal Church. It's everywhere.
Sure.
That's one of the lamest. I mean, I love Bloodstock, but that particular show, we played it early in the day. The crowd was a lame bunch of fucking sleepy fucks. we hadn't slept all night. Mike had no luggage. He was wearing my clothes and stuff. We thought it was a horrible show. Sure. And they came in and gave us the thumbnail of the show, and it just sat in the dressing room no one even wanted it. Cause I'm like, I don't want to I just had to live it. I just went through that torture. I don't ever want to see it again. Right. And that fucking show is everywhere. And I went and finally watched it. I'm going, we were all so tired we couldn't even speak sentences, and we were great. I was like, this band is great no matter what. We're always on, And I love Bloodstock, but we played in the day and the crowd was stoned. They were okay, but they were just, it was almost every other audience was more alive than them that day. But it's like one of the main shows out there, and we were good. And I think, we all felt like we absolutely sucked when we came off stage. We were just like, God damn it,
Right.
And so it's like, it just goes to tell, man, it's like if a band has got it together, you're good even when you think you suck.
Right. Sure.
And
do you think, and this is probably putting the cart way, way, way in front of the horse, but is Ronnie Monroe a possibility to step back in? I mean, he's back in the business now, and he's been through his own thing,
sure.
with his wife.
Loss. Yeah, I follow Ronnie. I don't know anything. I know zero about that as a possibility.
Okay.
I love Ronnie, and I think he's amazing. When Metal Church was on tour with Wasp, Ronnie was the singer.
Right.
And the last time in 2005, we did the Metal Blast tour. And I tell you what, man, me and Daryl Roberts, the guitar player of Wasp at the time, we would sit out front and watch Metal Church's shows and look at each other and go, I can't believe these fucking guys are opening up for us. They were so good. Right. I mean, I remember we played in New Jersey, and it was an early show, and Twisted Sister was a headliner, and Wasp was before them, and then we had the whole Metal Blast before. So that put Metal Church off at 2 in the afternoon or something. It was really early. And we got there the night before, and we were like shattered. We were all hungover as hell. Right. And I was like in the bus, and I heard the intro running for Metal Church. I'm like, oh shit, I got to get up and go see these guys. And I went out, and me and Daryl just got up. We're sitting there with coffee on the lawn, watching them, and looking at each other, going, how? I mean, I couldn't even hold a drumstick right now. These guys are killing it up there. And Kirk Arrington was still on drums then, and he was just outstanding. He's a real good friend of mine. And I was just like, wow, these guys are really back then I'm like, this band is one of the best bands on the planet. And that was, with Ronnie, so to answer your question, I don't know. I love Ronnie, but I don't know that it's even in consideration or not, we haven't talked that much about it,
Right. Well, it's still early, really.
Yeah.
And not to put a timeline, you can't put a timeline on what people feel, but fans think that you guys are puzzle pieces. Well, just get that guy back, just throw him in there,
Yeah.
They don't get the camaraderie that it takes to make a band work. You can put 4 guys in a room and call it Metal Church or Wasp or whatever. You can't put the camaraderie that makes the creative juice work unless it all fits, so.
Yeah. seriously, we haven't really talked about the logistics of continuing. I mean, when I tell you we're just talking to each other again, because when we lost Mike, we all were like, I love you, I'm sorry. And then we didn't talk at all for like a couple of months. There was nothing. Sure. Me and Stevie talk all the time because we have a few things going together, Mm-hmm. But the band, we're all damaged, man. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I get
we're all damaged, and yeah. But the main thing that I can say, I said to Kurt last night, he's like, we don't know what we're doing, so don't lay out any false expectations are out there, And I'm like, dude, you know me. I was just like, we're not going to let the band sink in quicksand, and I can't really tell you anymore right now because there isn't really more. So what I've done is maintain. I'm busy. I have a studio at my house here, and we got the Howland Hyatt done and rolling. I have another band called Kill or Be Killed, which is Jimmy Bell from Autograph, Michael Viscera from Ingwe, and everybody knows Mike. He's amazing. And Steve Unger from Metal Church is on bass. And originally Peter Scheithauer was involved. He was mainly a writer on the record. He did some of it like, it's not my thing. So we pulled Jimmy Bell in, and that record is done and apparently ready to have something happen with it. But we, kind of spent a lot of money on that one. We recorded it in Paris, and it was done somewhat decadently. So someone's got a bill sitting there. So we're gonna have to. It's slower to get like the record deals with the bigger advances. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
So they're working on that. And I heard from Dave Ellefson.
Okay.
We're gonna do another Temper Brutality in a minute.
Oh, great! Wow.
And I'm working on. I'm doing a band called Survive 5. It's a band from Massachusetts. I'm actually flying there tonight.
Right, okay.
We'll be doing some work down there. My family's going to Massachusetts for the holidays, and I'll be working over there while we're there. And what the hell else I got? I got a thing called Lovesick Devil I'm doing with my buddy Monk Burris, which is kind of an all-star thing here in Vegas. We don't even know exactly who's on that record because we just have it roughed out. And then I have an artist called George Lewis in Florida, who's like one of the best songwriters on the planet. And his record's about half done, and I'm going to be finishing that up when I get back from Massachusetts. So I got a handful of things happening. And me and my wife are writing a book about I'm writing 3 books: an autobiography, a book about my time in WASP, and a book called Becoming Stet Daddy. My little daughters call me Stet Daddy.
Oh, nice.
I'm not Step Daddy. I'm Stet Daddy. And, nice. The whole story's kind of sweet.
Nice. Very cool, man. Well, dude, as somebody, I've written 6 books, so I certainly know the struggle. And boy, it is, finding the time is always the hardest part to sit down and do it right. But dude, I can't wait to read
6 books, man. Congratulations. That's great. I'm gonna have to catch up on your authoring.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. No, I'll send you some books. Why not? You're sending me music. I'll send you some books. No problem. Well, dude, real quick, I want to swing back to Ellefson real quick. He's a personal friend of mine too.
Yes.
And I was more than happy that he gave me the first interview after the debacle that he went through. But, we've been friends forever. I mean, literally, probably as long as you've been friends with him. I've at least known him, and good dude went through a bad, to me, just straight up unfortunate and really just wrong situation, because he really didn't do anything wrong for all the shit that he's taken. You obviously know him, so talk a little bit about him now. Obviously he's putting things back together. He's got the Lucid out there, like you just announced. He's got Temple of Brutality getting ready to fire back up. So does he seem like he's in a good place, comparatively to where you thought he might have gotten to?
Well, I always had, listen, Dave Ellefson's one of my dear friends. He's not some guy I know. Dave Ellefson was he married my wife and I. He was my pastor at my wedding. Okay. Dave is a true blue friend. And I am we've done several shows with Megadeth, and Mustaine was always nice to us, Okay. But given the choice, I'm 110 DE. David Ellefson's been, he's my friend and brother. And the minute it happened, I stood right behind him. I went right to Facebook, and I'm like, I support. I just want to make it clear which David I support. I support David Ellefson 100%. He's a great man. He's a great man. He's a great talent, and he's a machine. You can't stop him. I mean, you can hurt him. It's like a tank rolling down the street. Yeah, he can take some fire, but he's rolling down the street, and he's smart. You know, that's the other thing. He's a smart guy. You know, we've been friends for a long time. I actually got him into real estate some years ago. I was way into real estate in the early 2000s. I was popping, man. In Florida. And Dave and I got together, and you know, he did a few deals in Florida as well, picked up some cash, and we remained good friends, investment pals.
Sure.
You know, I'm somewhat of a standalone dude myself. You know, it's like, you know, he doesn't need the moniker of Megadeth to be David Ellefson. He's David Ellefson, man, and he's a talent. He's a good guy, and he has that history behind him of doing all those legendary records. And everywhere he's ever been, I've done many meet and greets side by side with him. Always a gentleman, always a kind word, always time for everybody. There's not a finer human. I mean, I love the guy.
Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you, and I'm right there with you on the team Ellefson as well, man. Yeah. It's
just where I am.
You know, I got myself into hot water because I actually took crap when this whole thing went down. You know, I took a bunch of shit from people because I called other people out. You know, guys that I thought should have stood up and said, "Hey, God is," you know, guys like Frankie Bello, and I'm not trying to shit talk anybody, but you know, Frankie Bello has done projects with them. They've been friends forever. Guys like Jeff Scott Soto, you know, I just felt like the community. I get why everybody ran for cover, but at the same time, David Ellefson, you had to just sort of know that it was, you know, kind of nonsense.
Yeah, I don't really know. I've met Frankie a few times. He's great. You know, he was always great with me. Jeff Scott Soto is a good friend. I've always known him to be nothing but great and honorable. Sometimes people just
they don't want to have.
They mind their own business. You know what I mean? It's like I don't. If I see a bully beating up some guy, I go over there and get in it. I do. You know, if it needs to be over and everybody's standing there watching. I'm like, I'm good to go. I'm a drummer. I hit things. You know, I mean, I'm just full of love, but you know, like I don't like a bully, and I feel like I don't know. I on that situation, I'll be honest. I've never been a huge Megadeth fan. I don't think. I mean, the componentry is great. Amazing drummer, amazing parts. I can't sit through a show.
Okay.
I've tried. I can't. It's fucking. I can't. So. I think he's going to be fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love the band and I appreciate what they've done to me, but it's just like I don't see it for beans, man.
Right? No, I hear you. And Ellefson will be fine, but
he's going to be great.
Yeah,
he's going to be great.
And I would imagine Howland Hyatt's going to be fine in the long run once you get out there and get some shows and get the word out there, man. Is there anything on the horizon, or can you even plan a tour with all the things that you're always involved in?
Well, my thing is, I mean, specifically with the Howland Hyatt, I've already talked to everybody, and we're just going to only, pretty much with all of my situations, metal, you know, when Metal Church is back included, we cherry pick. We only, you know, there's no need. We're all in our 50s and early, you know, 60s.
Right.
No one wants to tour like 6 months a year.
Right.
Short tours, you know, like we did a thing with Doro. In the States, we did about 5 weeks. Maybe it was 5 or 6 weeks. It was amazing, but we did it in like 2-3 week runs, you know?
Right.
And it was amazing teaming up with somebody compatible like that. And they're again, I know I sound like Mr. Positivity, but Doro is
she's the sweetest lady ever.
And all her bandmates, they're all the best people ever. I mean, just the best. And then we went and we did Europe. We teamed up with Armored Saint. And it's like, you take Armored Saint and Metal Church and put them together and you got like 5. You know, 1 + 1 = 5. We were like selling out halls, you know? I mean, we were doing, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, really good numbers. And then we knew neither one of us could do alone, you know, but together there was an energy that was undeniable. It was like, and we shared, which was weird. We shared a double-decker bus because, you know, just financial. We figured we'd all make way more money. Sure. Made the tour affordable. And man, I'll tell you what, we didn't have one problem. I would do it again in a minute. I mean, we had the back lounge where me and Gonzo we had all our silly pot smokers. And then the front lounge was with Mike and Kurt and Joey Vera and the guys that were, not silly. So it was like the silly up here, normal down here. And then we'd interact a little. But like after the shows, we just have so much fun. That was one of the more fun tours I've ever done in my life. But the culmination of the two bands was just amazing. I hope, we've talked about doing it again. And it's just like one of those dream things, Sure. But we need a band. Well, we don't have a band at this time.
Right.
But again, that's why I'm keeping myself busy. And the Howland Hyatt, as far as live shows or any of our stuff, only the good ones. When the album actually releases, we're going to do a handful of CD record release parties, and give shit away and spill wine and just be silly. That's what we're going to do. But touring, who knows? It'll be one-offs and weekend flyouts.
Sure. When is the release? Is there a date yet, or just still up in the air a little bit?
It's B, choice B. Yeah, it's we're not exactly sure. It's after the first of the year, but we just did the first singles. We're gonna drop a couple more singles, and then I don't. They do such a good job. These guys are working in an environment that I don't understand really. It's like all my knowledge making records and promoting records and stuff, it's all moot because the business changed after lockdown. Right. These guys are selling records and building artists in this current environment. I just listen for the best. I mean, I give my 2 cents worth, but they always come to me with great ideas.
Sure.
And every choice, every suggestion is from a handful of choices, and every suggestion is the choice I would have chosen anyway. But they give me the the input. I have full input on everything, But I'm just like, you guys are, do what you do, And if you got a gray area, let me know if there's something that I can do. And we've had. I'm completely impressed. My buddy Opus is just killing it. He's every day I got, everything just came out Friday, but I have, all sorts of great, the great stuff. I got interviews like with you, and actually this is my first interview for this record, and I'm honored that it's with you. But I have a bunch lining up and stuff, and I'm really excited.
Absolutely, man. And it's not like Opus isn't busy either, because isn't he out on the road with Mark Rizzo? Isn't he in he's doing Hail the Horns. He's doing Dead by Wednesday. He's got his Earth Sabbath tribute. The kid, and when this whole thing was coming about, he's the one that put it all together, Okay. So so when we were talking about him and his label, I was like, we absolutely want you spearheading all this. So he not only got the deal together for me, but his label is our label. He's handling it, and I walked his walk. I tell him, it's like, when I was your age, dude, I used to get up early. I went through my sober stage. He's sober, Okay. He gets up, he goes, does his martial arts or whatever. He gets on the phone and does his business, and he plays his drums, and then goes, whatever. I mean, he's got it together. The kid is sharp, and I'm sharp enough to follow through on what's going on. Right. But I'm also a daddy. I'm married. We got 4 kids. I have multiple properties in different states. Okay. And they didn't get shit. They didn't get looked at for couple years. I didn't even see any of my properties, Okay. So things were in disrepair. When I got my, I did get, everybody's all, vax, anti-vax, stage 3 cancer survivor. My doctors and my wife said, if you want to travel, you got to get the shot. So I did get it. I got the Moderna. Okay. And it made me feel like shit. But, for a minute, but I had to do it if I wanted to leave the house. So, I know there's a big argument about that, and, people are fighting over it, but that's what I did. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just saying that's what I did because I wanted to participate, Dude, I just went through COVID myself, was hospitalized for a week, and damn close to dying. Really? I really went through it the hard way. And the shocking thing, and I don't want to turn this into COVID talk, obviously, but
no, go.
The shocking thing to me, I still can't get a doctor to tell me what I should do.
Really?
After I've had one doctor tell me, "Oh, you got to go get a shot." I've had another one say, "Don't do it. It's bad. Your lungs aren't strong enough to take it, and they might react bad." So I don't know.
Now, once you've had the COVID, see, I don't know exactly either, but I've understood that it makes you that it gives you a sense of immunity after having it.
They say it, but I'm going to tell you, I've been giving away a lot of concert tickets and staying home because I do not have it in. Like I had Bonham tickets. 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. And I love that show. I've seen it 6-7 times. It's great. And I couldn't put myself in a room with 2,500 people. Couldn't do it. I know that's dumb.
No.
I know it's PTSD to the maximum, but
it's not dumb.
When you're in a hospital and you start seeing the fireflies in your eyes and you're going into blackout in and out and you feel like you're really going to die and you're like, oh my God, this is it. It's like, yeah, maybe I don't want to take a risk again.
I've laid there looking at the hospital ceiling, thinking to myself, wow, I always wondered how I was going to die.
Yep.
I can't believe that ceiling's the last thing I'm going to see. And it was weird. It wasn't like I thought it was going to be, but I didn't like it. I was sad, egotistical douche that I am. I was sad because my mom was still alive then. I'm like, I'll live, I'm going to die before my mother. My wife, the young kids. I felt like a jerk. My band, I got lots of friends out there, it's like shit. So I can relate, man. And my wife was a nurse, so she saved my life in the first place when I was sick with cancer. When I was first sick with lymphoma, I was my last couple shows were at the Chance and then in some place in Queens. Okay. And I was so sick that I couldn't even make the meet and greet at the end. Oh, wow. And there was a lady doctor there. She goes, "You don't look right. You need to get checked for Lyme disease. Your symptoms are, I think you have Lyme disease." So I went to my local hospital and told them that. And they go, "Yep, sure, Lyme disease." And they gave me some penicillin and sent me home.
Jeez.
So I'm sitting there at home feeling worse and worse. And my wife is like, "Something's wrong. I need to see your blood work." And she pulled up my blood work and was like, "This is insane." She jumped on a plane, came to my house in Cape Cod where I was laying there dying, brought me to a new hospital. And they said, "Yeah, we need to bring you to the cancer center. We think you got cancer." And like, "Oh, you're crazy." And sure enough, I was stage 3, Burkitt's lymphoma, bone and blood cancer. How they get that shit out of your bone and blood, I have no fucking idea, but they did it. I had a crazy chemo regimen, man. I was so itty bitty and scrawny and bald and yellow. And oh my God, I couldn't even pour my own milk. I'll never forget trying to pour milk. I love milk. I'm like, God damn it, all over the table. So, to come back from all that and then have a career again. And, the Metal Church record killed, damned if you do. And the following tour was sold out everywhere we went. It was just like, I don't even believe I'm doing this again. Never mind, having a really successful record and all that shit. So, you're looking at a guy that's very thankful to be here. You know what I mean? Sure. And it's awesome to know somebody like yourself understands,
Yeah.
And, you come close to death, you appreciate life. It's just a fact.
Dude, and that's the craziest thing. I've walked the line twice, once with the burn accident and once with the COVID. And I'll be honest, I don't put one as more than the other.
No shit.
Death. And when you're that close, and obviously, the burn accident was, I was in a coma. I was 21 days in a coma, 14 months of surgery,
Holy shit, dude.
25 surgeries. I went through the war. I mean, the absolute war to get better. And once you've been there, 2 things happen. And I'll see if you feel the same way. One, you feel like you better do everything you can that you wanted to do because you realize the importance of the day, the hour, and the minute. You realize that you might not get the next day, the next hour, or the next minute. Yeah. So you better do everything there. And the second thing you realize is that you're more capable to do and accomplish than everybody else because you value your time better. Yeah. And I'm sure you get it. And I know you get this because I've seen your resume. Everybody comes up to you is like, how do you find the time to do all these things? How do you everybody does that to me too. I own 2 businesses. I've written 6 books. I have the radio show. I built heavy metal television. I'm amazing, man. I do all this stuff and people are always saying to me exactly what they say to you. how do you
do it?
find time to do it? You know how? Because unlike you, I don't waste time. I don't sit around watching, endless television so that I have something to talk about. I don't sit around doing nothing. I constantly, well, there's this to do, there's work to do, there's this I can accomplish. And that definitely comes from when you've come to the end, when you really truly think you're at the end and you get that second reprieve. It's like,
hallelujah. I know.
Dude, my doctors told me after the burn, or they told my wife after the burn accident, make arrangements. Right. They said, make arrangements, not going to come out of surgery. That was 94. So what is that, 27 years ago or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm thankful every day. I literally got more life than I had before it, after it, that I wasn't supposed to get. So I'm not going to let anything go to waste. Never. I'm sure you're the same way.
I feel you, man. I feel you so much because I made promises when I was laying there too. When I was going through my treatment, I was abnormally positive. They had me going around and talking to people, other cancer patients that were having the same treatment as me, but all had given up. And it's like, hey, man, I'm feeling a little better every day. And I would kind of like a cheerleader. And they wanted me to come back afterwards,
Right. Sure.
And talk to people. And I had promised to do a bunch of things and intended to do a bunch of things, but truly, it took me a minute to just recover. And when I was on the mega cruise, Mike Howe introduced me to the Inc. Against Cancer people.
Okay.
And they're the most wonderful people in the world. And so we're just starting to work with them and do stuff. And I have this picture. I don't know if you can see the writing, but it basically, it's my little 8x10 that when I do stuff, we have it there. I just got it. We just started this, but that picture, the proceeds go to Inc. Against Cancer. I'm having a little get together Wednesday in Massachusetts at my friend's bar Shenanigans in Wareham, Mass. And it's just a hang. I want to show videos. I want to play the record and all that stuff. But basically, we're just there to hang with our friends. And I'm going to have those pictures with me. And if anyone wants one, they're like at $5 or something.
Sure.
And they're more online, I'm sure. But just at the gig, just to have a little something to throw Inc. Against Cancer every once in a while. And I'm working with them to because they're one of the organizations that actually collects the money and gives it to the people with the problem. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sure. It's like the American Cancer Society, God bless them and all, but you know how that is. 7% goes to the sick people. These people are amazing. They actually physically, personally handle the situations. They find the people in need, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Dude, write your book. I'll tell you now. There's nothing. My one of my books is my burn story, and
awesome.
And there's nothing more rewarding than when people hit you up and tell you that you've
inspired them, changed them,
get through it or whatever, or they can finally relate to someone, because they can't relate. You can't tell your story to somebody that hasn't been there. They don't get it. They just don't get it. But somebody that's going through it and they can read somebody that hasn't, it makes a ton of difference. And I'll tell you what, the best thing I've ever done in my life, other than, my kids or whatever I'm supposed to say here, but one of the most fun things, rewarding things for my entire life was I took a box of my book to the burn unit that took care of me and donated a box of my book.
I love that.
And I mean, I have the photo on my little desk in there that just is me with my doctor that put me back together, holding my book, just, ultimate.
You're gonna get me teared up, kid. You take it easy. I'm emotional.
It's ultimate accomplishment, man. And you've got the same story, man. You should write the book and put it out there. You'll be amazed how many people you'll help.
Well, what's so funny. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
David Ellefson, one of my dear friends, he has Ellefson Publishing.
Sure.
And he's the first one it was kind of like Opus. I reached out to Opus about this record, and he's like, I know what to do with it. We'll take it. I reached out to David, and I was like, I'm thinking of doing these books, but I'm going to start with the Stepdaddy book because it addresses my cancer survival and all that. And he's like, I'm going to tell you something, man. Yes. He's like, yes to all 3 books, but let me tell you a little something about writing the books. He's like, I did years of therapy and counseling, for my addictions and stuff. Sure. And he's like, I was never truly healed and never truly digested everything until I wrote about it. When I wrote about it in my book, that is when it really, really, really found its final filing place. You know what I mean? Because with brokenness for me, I went on stage the day my dad died. I got this switch that has to be switched. And sometimes it takes me like a couple hours to transform. When I'm all fucked up, I can still perform and all that, but I need a minute to transform myself into the person that can perform.
Right.
So Dave reiterated that writing the book is going to really help you file. If there's anything still bothering you, it's going to help you file it. And it's like, man, there's stuff still bothering everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, bouncing around when I think that there was enough bothering my brother Mike that it was too much. It really gets me that I wished I did something. Well, and anyone that knows the situation with that type of that knows that there's not you. I did not do something. You know what I mean? There wasn't anything that anyone could do, because when it gets like that, people take that direction no matter what someone like me says. But I'll hold the guilt forever thinking I should have done something, but
Yeah, well, dude, in the end, you do what you can do. You're in it, and I'm a big advocate of this. In the end, you be a good person. And if that's not enough, then it wasn't meant to be enough. You can't hold yourself.
That's a good one.
You can't hold yourself guilty for what other people's decisions are if your actions toward them were just. Right. That's how I live anyway. Is I try to, I'm very proud of my. I have 2 books out there. 2 of my 6 are self-helpies. My burn book is obviously one that burn people do, and then I wrote one. You want to talk
it's
about?
Not funny, but yeah, I mean,
no, it's. But you want to talk about a hard one? I wrote a book about divorce, going through the divorce. So that's as raw-nerved as you could ever get, and that was another one that a lot of people reacted to because they were like, "Oh my God, I feel just this way."
Sure.
And when you look at it and you see the warts and all, and you see the bad things that you did as well as the good, it's like Ellefson said, once you write about it, once you face yourself in the mirror, it's a whole lot easier to wash your face and clean the mirror. It's
man, you got some good analogies, dog. I'm gonna be stealing some of your shit.
I'm a writer, brother.
You're great. That's really good, man. I'm really interested, in your books. I'm impressed, and as a budding author myself, I'm honored to know you, and I got friends like Bobby Rock, who's written several books, and I was gonna kind of reach out when I get a little closer, reach out to some of my friends, David Ellefson, the guys that have written good books,
Yeah, I'd be happy to help in any way. I'm actually writing a book right now, or we're just getting started with Ronnie Monroe, which is why it was just on the tip of my tongue was. He wanted to write a book, and he hit me up, and he looked at some of mine and was like, "Dude, would you want to write this?" I was like,
"That's awesome."
Sure.
Yeah, Ronnie's good. Ronnie's been through a lot.
Yeah,
he's been through a lot, and I, he's a great singer, great guy. I absolutely love the dude, and I was very. I felt bad what he went through, man, losing his wife and stuff. I love my wife so much. If anything ever happened to her, I'd fall on a kamikaze sword immediately. I wouldn't even be interested in talking about it. So he's got my respect for continuing, and he's a great guy, man. We had so much fun on the road together,
Absolutely. Well, dude, why don't we wrap this up? We've been going an hour here.
All right, my man.
Obviously, the record is the single anyway is Eve of Destruction.
Correct.
It is a Howland Hyatt, and it will be out there. It's out there now. The full record is going to be out in 2022. And Stet, this has been fun, man.
Chris, man, fabulous, and very proud of you, Mr. Author. I'll be looking up your books, brother.
All right, all good, man.
All right, my man.
Thanks for checking out this episode of The Classic Metal Show. Get all of our episodes uncensored at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. Join us weekly from 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. Eastern at www.cmsradio.net. Participate in the live chat room at www.chatandkill.com. Once again, thank you for checking out The Classic Metal Show with Neely and Chris. Hail and kill, fuck you, pal, and hail